Times you just got to toss another person to make a statement.
My show's about the people's podcast. Everyone has a voice. I don't need a co-host. Go listen to one of the other 5,000 shows with a co-host because they don't have a mouth like the big guy.
Opie, are you a career killer with Tim Sabian, yourself, and many others?
Be myself. Never had real issues with those people. They just understood that I was a different bird. The rest of them, though, I'm like, oh, shut up. I'm paying your salary because the ratings are so good, so shut up.
Right. Live from
somewhere,
it's Dillon.
Good whatever to you, whenever you are listening to this. Thank you for joining on this episode after our first lost episode. Dejois is the first up. Thank you for joining. And yesterday we got a copyright strike for something that was clearly transformative content. I appealed it to the exact same bot who flagged it in the first place. So I'm going to see on some sock accounts if I can get that back up. The live bots appear to be overreaching more than the video bots. So hopefully we can get that back up. I'll try on a sock account. I'll record a final segment if it goes through because it's transformative content. But the bots in charge that they definitely put in charge on Friday. Noticing how my videos are getting flagged starting on Friday, the bots got their new orders from their overlords on Friday, and I will be monitoring over here on my phone if this stream gets suspended again with today's host. I haven't introduced the concept yet. This is Cohost Auditions. I am your co-host, Dillon. Today's host is Lindsay Nikole, and when all else fails, all shows go to Zoologists. So after getting an episode taken down by the bots, who we now must bow down to because you cannot get a hold of a human on YouTube anymore, we are going to the good old zoologist for today. Thank you for joining, Lindsay Nikole. What is up with zoology? What the fuck is that? Freaks of nature. She will be showing us today.
Quiet, stop playing with the bag. Bitch love bags. Another episode of What the F Is This? Where you can expect to be horrified
I think she got a better mic at some point. This mic isn't the best mic.
by nature beyond comprehension in a variety of different ways. Why? Why do I do this to you? And my poor editor, Gio. Well, I must remind you, I don't technically pick these animals myself. The internet is filled with viral videos of strange creatures and people asking, what the f is that? I merely get tagged in them, likely talk about them on TikTok, and then collect them into a giant list where I find common
As we see, our host is wearing a bucket hat and a black shirt. I don't know what the fuck happened to my bucket hat, so we have to go with a fedora today to match our host in some fashion.
For this series, like worms, aliens, things you shouldn't touch, God-forsaken creatures, and today's episode, freaks that get freaky. Yeah, there were a few on the list that caused a common horror by the ways that they mate. So, buckle up for episode 5 of What the F Is This? We usually start these episodes with general information we gotta get out of the way. But in
General information.
this case, there's really no specific general information to talk about. There are an enormous amount of ways that animals get down with the get down, and I can't possibly outline every single one in this video. So think of this more as like a catered...
And of course, with this format of show, I can't be like Johnny Carson and have a spider monkey shit on my head. I can't physically reach into Lindsay Nolke's house and pull out her spider monkey. I can pull out my spider monkey, though, but that also would get my video taken down from YouTube. You've got to go to Pornhub to show your spider monkey.
5-course meal, getting a little bit of different things. 5-course meal is usually set up as hors d'oeuvres, appetizer, salad, main course, and dessert. I had to look that up, just so you know. I didn't know that. I'm not British. But instead of that setup, we're going to do 2 appetizers and 3 main courses. So allow me to
ahead a little
introduce you
bit.
to
It's the animals.
This sometimes ends in sexual cannibalism, where the female
Thank you, G-Rob. Bigger fan of the fedora than the bucket hat. I used to call that the Gilligan hat, the bucket hat, because that's what Gilligan wore.
eats the male, which brings me to appetizer 2. Appetizer 2, anglerfish, where often males become sexual parasites to females. The males are much smaller, look nothing like the female. They don't look like anglerfish at all. That classic anglerfish look that you're familiar with, yeah, that's a lovely lady. The only purpose these males have in life is to find a female, latch on.
I actually have heard of this before. They did not think the male anglerfish was of the same species. And what they do is actually what some humans do is they will latch on to the female, give their reproductive spermatozoa, and then just wither away while just being attached to the female.
Onto her, start feeding from her blood so their tissues can become
Yeah, my tattoos are hidden. I'm a little wussy with my tattoos of covering them up with sleeves and socks. And one of my tattoos I need to get covered up.
fused together
It was
as
a
one.
whoopsie.
He loses his eyes, fins, some internal organs, no job, no prospects, and becomes a mere appendage of the female, only alive to provide her sperm whenever she wants it. I actually have a whole page about this in my Spooky Specimens coloring book that you can check out at the link in the description. All right, see, those were quick. Appetizer.
Ooh, a coloring book with weird little fishies. I think I want one of those. Christmas is coming up.
Now, let's move on to our first main course. If you've ever come across this video on the internet or this picture, you might have thought this was CGI or some sort of weird hairy tentacle sculpture made for a French horror film. But since it's being showcased in this video,
A French horror film.
I'm sure we can all recognize this as some sort of moth waiting to get slutted out. This is Creatinotus gangus, also called the Baphomet
Gang
moth,
gang.
found in Southeast Asia, and you guessed it, Australia. This one in particular is a male, and all that crazy
She's
shit.
talking kind of fast. I think I've got it on regular speed. Yeah, there is no fucking way we could do this on 1 1/4. And thanks to some of my viewers for saying no more 1 1/4 speed. So I like it myself, but not a lot of people do. Jenna Marbles. Oh, I forgot about Jenna Marbles. I completely forgot. How is she still making content? Jenna Marbles wits. I totally forgot Jenna Marbles existed.
Shit is inflatable. On a typical day, the male looks like this. Classic, run-of-the-mill moth. Nothing special. But when night comes and he's ready to mate, he turns into this. These weird...
When night comes. When night shoots its load all over you.
tentacle-like extensions are called coromata, or hair pencils. They're organs that essentially sit inside of a pocket in the moth's abdomen.
Hey, it's not a hair pencil. It's bigger than that.
And become inflated and start pumping out pheromones when he's trying to find a lady. They essentially got 4 bottles of Sauvage strapped to the trunk. Oftentimes, these pheromones attract other males and they form a little moth fraternity, calling out for females together. Like the human fraternities that we're familiar with, this method is surprisingly successful. The females soon arrive, and once contact occurs, the coromata deflate, and then it's a whole event. Any females who ultimately didn't get a chance to mate.
Oh, look at that. The way they do it is butt to butt. It looks like they've got the double-ended dong going there, but that's how they do it. They have their own internal double-ended dong.
Start calling out with their own pheromones that come from tubules inside the body, not the big shit. Let the males know they have been left behind, and the process begins again. Okay, so that's what happens, but I have more to say about the hair pencils. Turns out that the size that they get to is directly related to how they spend their life as a caterpillar. As we know from the very hungry caterpillar, caterpillars like to eat plants. Sometimes plants produce compounds called pyrrolizidine
They're very hungry. There's a book all about it.
alkaloids, which are supposed to serve as a defense mechanism and keep insects from eating them. But the little caterpillars love this shit. It's like Popeye's spinach to them. The more of these danger compounds that they eat as a little caterpillar, the larger their hair pencils will be later on, after they transition to adulthood.
Stop calling it a hair pencil. It's a penis. It's an average, slightly above average sized penis. It hurts my feeling when you call it a hair pencil.
Via metamorphosis. It also impacts pheromone production in a positive way. So, in summary, more danger compounds equals more chicks. Evolution is crazy, isn't it? That sort of ecological, physiological relationship seems so random and small. So many delicate little details that evolved to make up the lives of these moths and their future generations. But also, how the fuck did this happen? They look like some kinky alien shit.
Kinky alien shit. I'm into some kinky human shit. So, depending on what these aliens do, I might be into that. And I just noticed that's a Motorhead shirt. Fuck yeah, Lemmy.
shit. But they are by far not the only species that have these. Creatinotus gangus has a sister
Gang.
species, Creatinotus transiens, that has almost identical hair pencil. This is like a thing in the moth and butterfly
A transient with a hair pencil. If you're a transient, you really need a big hog because sometimes that can get you an overnight stay.
community. Not all of them have it, and there's plenty of different kinds of hair pencils. Most of them don't look so tentacle-like, but unfortunately some do. Gian, roll the clip. You know
Some hair pencils have a hood. Some hair pencils are bent.
what I'm talking about. Okay, so in many
Bravo on the sound effect. I enjoyed that.
species of moths and butterflies, these hair pencils evolved in very elaborate ways, different shapes and sizes, very species specific, and different factors impacted how those hair pencils evolved to look. What those factors were is not where I was going with this point. My mind actually went to, are there any moths that twerk? So I Google searched, do any moths twerk? And let me show you the first two search results.
Fuck yeah. We got some moths on the dance floor. Mothman is all about this, but Mothman is human-sized, so his hair pencil will absolutely kill them if he tries to insert it.
Slow motion for me. Slow motion for me. Slow motion for me.
There's the Mothman
I'll put the
twerking.
link to this in
A moth lady. Man, I didn't know I was a moth lady kind of guy.
the description because I feel like somebody's going to want this. That's that with that. Now, we're going to move on to a different species that approaches sex, as in male and female, in a very different way. You might have heard of hermaphroditic species, animals that instead of having male and female individuals, do both at the same time. They produce
Worms. Worms are hermaphrodites. They can fuck themselves, but I don't think that they can fertilize their own eggs.
both male and female gametes or sex cells. This can happen in a few different ways, producing both types of sex cells at the same time, simultaneously, or at different times in their life cycle, like starting as a female, then becoming a male, starting as a male, becoming a female.
And just like Nemo, Nemo would have actually, it's the larger of the Nemo fish that becomes the female, isn't it? It would have been either dad or son there that would have became mom. And I think that information is out there now of that Finding Nemo is inaccurate. One of them just would have turned into a female.
Female, different combos, social hierarchy type of shit, lots of different ways.
Different combo. What about some Fritos? Maybe some Doritos? Fuck yeah, Chippa.
This happens. There are over 65.
Snails are hermaphrodites. Thank you, Wits. Especially with apple core snails. They just push a button and prego. Oh, they can impregnate themselves? They can make their own inbred little snail babies? That's not the best for the species overall, but that can make snail babies happen if they can impregnate themselves.
1,000 hermaphroditic invertebrate species that we know, occurring in over 2/3 of the invertebrate phylum. You know, this cladogram that we usually use for these videos. And in about 450 species of vertebrate fish.
Gross. They're the Habsburgs of snails.
Just fishes. I don't think any other types of vertebrates that we know of. Although often capable, hermaphroditic species don't self-fertilize if they can help it, because it's more beneficial to mix and get some genetic diversity going on. But that doesn't mean that they can't. You could tell a nematode to go fuck itself, and it literally could end up pregnant.
Okay, snails and nematodes. We are learning about all the animals that can fuck themselves and impregnate themselves. Us humans can only fuck ourselves. The hermaphrodites too, right? I don't think they can impregnate themselves.
Enough. Main course 2. Roll the clip.
Can someone explain this to me? Is this slugs reproducing? Because there's something out of their bodies that's touching. I don't know what this is. I'm not Googling it.
That's that's their wiener, isn't it? Like they throw up their wiener and they throw up their vagina. Yeah, let's go with that. I think that's what's going on there, is that they vomit out their sexual organs and then intertwine them. I think that's what's happening.
Wait a minute, is that how slugs reproduce?
This is how leopard slugs reproduce. Their scientific name is Limax maximus, which translates to the biggest slug. They're not the biggest slug though, but we've got the maximum slug right here. Let's do a freeze frame on a video and identify which different parts we got going on. We've got 2 slugs, a string of mucus, and 2 penne. Your brain might immediately go to the penis fencing and the flat work.
The penne. You don't want to put that penne in your pasta. No, you don't.
in the alien episode of the series immediately seems familiar. Another hermaphroditic animal. But with the slugs, this is actually more of a Cirque du Soleil situation than a joust. Because these dirty skanks perform a very calculated, ritualistic dance. When two leopard slugs find each other, they first go to some elevated
The snails can go fuck themselves. Absolutely, Mr. Blue Sky.
point, and they start making a ton of slime. Just a shit ton of slime. Enough to make a rope that comes down from the elevated point. And they descend on the slime rope upside down while they twirl around each other like acrobats in a counterclockwise direction. Always. Because their pending come out of the right side of their head. And they are really big. Like,
Oh, it comes out of their head. They're a dickhead.
usually as long as their actual bodies. And the Italian ones, whole different story. So the imbalance, the asymmetry, makes them rotate counterclockwise, and the pending wrap around each other like so and exchange fluids. I just heard what I said and I had a moment of realization
Okay,
about what I do.
I've had enough of the snails. I think some of you have as well. Please be done with the snails. Please be done with the snails. It looks like she's done with the snails.
The slugs will often mate as both male and female rather than one or the other.
Okay, I'm done with the
Just
snails. I'm
normal
done with the
evolution
snails.
Has a lot of your genes, and that's what survival of the fittest really is, isn't it? It's really survival of who gets to scissor the most. So hermaphroditic species essentially double their dating pool. They can
Oh, scissor me timbers. So scissoring in the bug kingdom is better than the double-ended donging as we saw with the moths.
get down with anyone of their species they run into. I guess that actually just really evens out the competition across the board, so my point does not stand. Scratch what I just said. It was pointless. Let's just move on to the final creature of our lineup. This one I actually personally
It's pointless, just like those dickheads. See, because it was slimy. It didn't have a point.
personally picked to accompany the
Go
last
on.
two. It's like a chef special. Because as far as I know, there aren't any viral videos of them with people asking what the fuck is that, but they definitely should be viral. The Palolo worm, found in shallow tropical waters of the South Pacific Ocean. They only mate at specific times of the year during a specific phase of the moon. Some witchcore shit right there.
If I would have known how much this video would have been about fucking, I would have pulled some clips about eels. We just figured out how eels fuck. It's amazing news. We've known about eels for hundreds of years, have been studying them, and we are just now starting to understand how they fuck.
Right there. Watch, they're gonna turn this worm into a deity. That's not all though. The moon shit is cool, but they're not the only animals that do this. It's something called lunar periodicity. They are considered a classic textbook case, but that's not the reason why they made it into
Lunar cycles, huh?
this video. Surprise, surprise, the way they reproduce is nuts. The back end of their bodies break off. Should I draw it?
You realize what you just said? Because that's just like humans. Like when they reproduce, it's nuts. Is it also vaginal the way they reproduce? Chipper making a few appearances this week.
I'm gonna draw it. Why use one of the many diagrams online when I can draw it myself in a shitty way? Worm. And then they have other end of the worm, and it goes slash and goes up to the surface of the ocean. And this releases egg and sperm into the water until it dissolves and babies get made in a giant egg and sperm stew. That's the spark notes.
So they reproduce just like those, like sea sponges and things that stay in place of just, here it is, out into the water, find your way.
Version. Let me explain in greater detail. Throughout the year, the worms live sheltered in coral, and they just hang out. While they're doing this, a separate piece of their body buds off their tail end, called an epitope. It's like a noodle extension of themselves that gets to about 40 centimeters long and only contains reproductive cells, egg or sperm. That's it. During the third quarter of the moon, sometime in the spring, that epitope gets launched off the rest of the worm and makes their way to the surface, along with the epitopes of other worms around it. And all the epitopes swim around, flipping around like noodles caught in a current, releasing eggs and sperm until they completely disintegrate. And then right there in the water, the sex cells make contact and make new worms and start their life as a little larva. Okay, so the process of shooting shit into the ocean and hoping something sticks probably doesn't sound very evolutionary.
That's how so many do it. We've come up with a better way of doing it. We come inside the baby maker now, but still a lot of species just launches it out into the ocean.
Fairly favorable. Not really smart if you're trying to pass on your precious genes to the next generation with efficiency. But this is actually a really popular mode of reproduction in the ocean called broadcast spawning.
I don't know. My genes are kind of beat up. I don't think the next generation wants my hand-me-downs. Broadcast spawning. That's what it is.
The parents of the offspring never make contact. Oftentimes they can't. They're sessile, attached to the ocean floor or substrate, like coral or sponges or mussels. They have no choice but to put their trust in the tides to send that shit out. Luckily, these spawning events are often controlled by water temperature, lunar, solar signals, and the specifics depend on each species.
I have heard that from one other person, Dabble Story, and the Lewin Kai. I know you're down that rabbit hole. They will be brand new to me. Maybe in the coming weeks. I'm told that I will absolutely detest them, which actually does make for a fun episode when I don't like the person. That's actually why I won't be doing a Pug Mugsley episode. I found that YouTuber recently, and I really like her. I don't think it'll make for a good episode because I just genuinely enjoy her brand of autism. It's very much my autism.
Species. And that does give them a leg up. Usually the eggs and sperm are just like released right there. No extra step. With the Pololo worms, that shit gets sent elsewhere. Like
one of the few times that this gimmick would actually be for realsies, like it was with Kevin Brennan at first, looking for a new co-host.
It's essentially a sexual satellite. There's a lot of cultural significance with the Pololo too. And the reason why Western science has known about these worms since the 1800s is because of native populations in these South Pacific islands, like Samoa, Tonga, Fiji, that built traditions around these delicately timed spawning events. They were the ones to determine environmental cues that helped predict Pololo days, nights that the epitopes.
Okay, you're getting a little too far
very seriously
in the
and
weeds
go back
here.
And watch all 10 videos.
Maybe not too far in the weeds, but too far in the ocean here. We get it.
Take notes this time, whatever you want to do. I'll be doing a live stream review session on my Patreon.
It's like if you were to just come into the wind and be like, make your way, find the vagina eventually.
In the last few weeks,
So we've got a second video with a what the fuck is that? And then we will get to some TikToks and get out of here. Thank you for bringing all these animals. I wasn't aware this was going to be so much about fucking. I would have pulled some different clips from TikTok if I would have known how much we were talking about doing stuff to the opposite sex. Dabble Storian, I could break up. Oh, you could be the person breaking up different people to get me as a co-host. Dabble Storian doing some dirty work, doing some double agent work to break up some teams and get me in. That would be that would be all right. Yeah, because I would like to get into a show that's already monetized. I still need 5 times more of the watch hours and 5 times more of the subscribers to be monetized here on this format, which is not being kind to me. Yeah, I agree, Detroit. Some Peppermint Patty vibes. I was never really into Peppermint Patty, but yeah, Peppermint Patty all grown up. I like what you grew into, Peppermint Patty. Where are the sexy clowns at? The same place they always are, at the end of the TikTok segments. We will get some animal-related TikToks after a little bit more from Lindsay Nikole, and we've seen this sexy clown before. We have got Sprinkles, the clown, coming up in about 20 minutes.
You might have heard about the new deep sea creature found in the waters of Antarctica.
Yay, I knew she got a better mic. Listen to that sound quality. That's what you do. You work with what you got and then you upgrade it. Nice job, Lindsay Nikole, getting a better mic.
Antarctica. It's been described on social.
Unlike that certain pillhead who just will not get a better mic. Maybe he does have a good mic. He doesn't know how to hook it up. We'll be doing some behind the scenes, helping Kinky Loco out with their mic tomorrow, chatting with beloved chatters with Kinky Loco at 3:30 Eastern. I am looking forward. A superstar in the world of the Dabbleverse, Kinky Loco, coming on to chat. Such a beloved chatter.
Social media as an alien or a monster lurking in the depths. This new species is called the Antarctic strawberry feather star, distant relatives of sea stars and the many other star creatures in the ocean.
Yes, sir, Wits, Kinky Loco. Very well known in this little community, but let's get back. We're being very rude to our host here of talking over her of sexy clowns in tomorrow's episode. What do we have on this video? Are we talking about fucking again, Lindsay?
At first glance, you might think of stars as boring, slow-moving, kind of just there organisms. But as you can see from this new discovery, they are often much more than that. Some look like biblically accurate angels. Others can sniff.
I think of stars as the asexual best friend of sponges.
snatch fish and other animals right out of the water. And more recently, it has been discovered that some can see without eyes. Today, I'm going to introduce you to them, since a few of them have been going viral recently as they are quite misunderstood. And to me, these are the animals that reminds me that we don't know shit. So it's time for another episode of What the Fuck Is This? The All-Star Edition. Let's get the general information out of the way by looking at our beloved cladogram, which represents how big groups of animals called phyla are related to each other. We
Xenoturbelia. That certainly sounds scary.
humans, along with other vertebrates, belong to the phylum Chordata at the bottom. And all the animals we're talking about today belong to the phylum most closely related to us, Echinodermata, the echinoderms. This group includes some of the more well-known species.
Does that include Knuckles of Sonic and Knuckles?
Like sea stars, of course, sea urchins, sea cucumbers, sand dollars. Yeah, sand dollars are animals. The name echinoderm refers to their hard or spiny covering. It literally translates to spiny skin. And the vast majority of echinoderms also display 5-fold radial symmetry. What the fuck does that mean? Okay, let me draw it. So all animals except for like sponges display
Peppermint Patty as an adult would have a dirty mouth, wouldn't she?
some sort of symmetry. Most are bilateral.
Actually, there's what is it? You're a good man, Charlie Brown. Did anyone see that in community college? There was supposed to be a student-run performance at my community college, but the director got a girlfriend and was never heard from again. One of those people who couldn't do two things at once, of chewing gum and having a girlfriend.
Bilaterally symmetrical, meaning there's one way you can split them down the middle and have two equal mirroring halves, like us, fish, squid, ants. So let's draw an ant. That can't possibly be right. Gian, don't put that part in. Somebody's gonna fucking cancel me for
Cut that pot out.
not knowing the anatomy of an ant. Two equal halves. Some are radially symmetrical, meaning there are many or countless ways you can split them equally down the middle, like cnidarians. Think of jellyfish or sea anemones from a bird's eye view. Anemones. Boom. Grace. Any.
Boom. Let's go.
Echinoderms, let's take a sea star, have 5-fold radial symmetry, meaning their body features, like their arms, are all in multiples of 5, and you can cut them in lots of different
And they live under rocks, right?
ways to have two equal halves. So, like that.
It's hard to believe there's enough tiki heads underwater for all the squids to live in.
Pretty bizarre. Okay, erase. So you might be thinking, Lindsay, how is this group of animals most closely related to our group of animals? They seem very different from us. Well, aside from the obvious genetic evidence, there's a key similarity that our two groups share in common, and it has to do with the earliest stages of development. Boom, a cell that is a product of a sperm fertilizing an egg. This teeny cell will soon become a baby, but what does it need? Yes, more cells. So it starts to replicate and form a hollow ball of cells. Let's take a cross section.
Yeah, you can call them hollow, but I swear there's stuff in my balls.
That, a little slice. Hollow ball of cells. You know what else this needs? Yes, holes. Specifically, a mouth and an anus. In most animals.
Yeah, Uncle Paul particularly said there's not a hole in there. We can't play any frickle frackle if we ain't got the proper hole.
The mouth. This is way oversimplified. The mouth develops.
I think Jim Norton is my go-to impression. What's the other impressions I even do? I just keep going to Jim Norton. Get out of my head, Norton.
First. They're called protostomes, which means mouth first. But in some animals, the anus develops first. These are deuterostomes, which means mouth second. We chordates.
Dude, you've got a butt and no mouth, dude.
And echinoderms are deuterostomes. The development of the anus is what bonds the two groups together. You know what that means? We are more closely related to an urchin than we are to the intelligent octopus. We are more closely related to a sea lily, which I'll get to, than an ant. And this ancient relationship traces its origins back hundreds.
Witz believes that Lindsay Nikole is the substitute teacher that kids would harass with spitballs. Yeah. She's got that, like the Peppermint Patty all grown up. They would pick up on that she's someone that they're like, you're a bit off, aren't you? You're fuckable with.
Hundreds of millions of years to the development of a whole race. So the echinoderms are a pretty diverse group. I had mentioned sea stars, sea urchins, sea cucumbers, sea lilies, sand dollars, etc. Today we're going to be
that babbling that I just did. That certainly calls for this drop.
Where's the joke?
Sir, we're on the air.
I know we're on the air, but where's the joke?
There was no joke. I'm sorry, Duke Phillips. I just babbled on until there was nothing to be salvaged from that failed joke.
To be focusing on the stars because stars are cool. Also, I don't know any urchins currently going viral on social media. So let's start off with the elephant in the room, feather stars, specifically the newly discovered Antarctic
Hey, that's not an elephant.
strawberry feather star that is scaring the shit out of millions of people because it looks like a face hugger. Well, in life, feather stars look like this. Stunning. Dare I say mesmerizing. They look like a clump of feathers form sentience and watch over the ocean floor like a deity. They are majestic
It's like a lava lamp.
as fuck. These big
Wit's wondering, why does she know so much of all these living creatures and how they sex it up? Well, zoologists are supposed to know about that. I haven't been to zoology school, so I'm not sure if there are some firsthand experiences. Bestiality might be part of the curriculum, as you are implying. We will have to look into what zoologists go through and what goes into being a zoologist.
biblically these biblically accurate angels belong to the class.
She does not like organized religion so much he can't get biblically out.
Crinoidea, the crinoids, a group that consists of two bills: the free swimming feather stars that move around and swim around all cool, and the stalked sea lilies that are sessile, attached to the substrate. They look like a plant. Feather stars
So I wonder if there is some bestiality in zoology. To get familiar with this, I think Gary Delabate would say this about it.
My professional life is like at a 9, and my personal life is at like a 2.
See, because Gary Delabate enjoys doing it with animals.
Feather stars are also attached like sea lilies when they're juveniles, but then pop off and become their own as an adult. And they do so in the most majestic way possible, keeping up with their five-fold symmetry, moving through the water, regardless of how many arms they have, which is up to 150 in some species. They use these arms to swim, as you can see, but they also crawl around on the sea floor using leg-like extensions called cirri for short distances. And luckily, since they have so many arms, if they lose one, they can just...
So if you lose your leg at the knee, does that make your leg a cirri now?
grow back. It's no big deal. That's actually true for all the animals we're talking about today. So just keep that in mind. These bitches are all about regeneration. And as you would expect,
Cool, they lose their legs and then they just tell their entire body.
Fix it, fix it, fix it, fix it, fix it, fix it. Fix it, fix it, fix it.
And it actually fixes it.
from such majestic creatures, they also feed in the most majestic way possible. They do something called marine passive suspension feeding, where they just eat the little particles floating around in the water around, like diatoms, invertebrate larvae, and little tiny crustaceans. They just let it happen. They don't even produce a current that pulls particles in, like filter feeders. They just rely on the natural movement of the water to bring food to them. Absolutely sublime. Well, they seem
the laziest of eaters, just going around with their mouth open, with no other help.
like creatures that would transcend the fossil record. They're actually more abundant in the fossil record than they are today. There have been over 5,000 fossil species of crinoids described since the Ordovician period about 480 million years ago. Mostly stalked builds, by the way, compared to about 550 species alive today.
Say the line, Bart.
That we know of. And some of the earlier species could have...
That we know of. We've only seen 2 videos of her, so we haven't seen how often she says that we know of. But now we know the Lindsay Nikole drinking game. If you guys watch this at home, that we know of is your signal to skull it up.
These could apparently get much bigger, like 40 feet long. A lot of shady sources that pop up online at first will give 40 meters.
Shady. Aftermath.
As the largest crinoid ever found, which translates to like 130 feet. But it seems like it was a typo that was copied and pasted to different websites, just so you know. 130 feet is not verified at all. And I think it would be talked about a lot more if it was actually 130 feet, because that's fucking huge. That is bigger than a blue whale, bigger than Perucetus. But 40 feet is still really big for a crinoid. So when it comes to the strawberry feather star, it's important to remember that what you're looking at is barely a picture of...
Fuck yeah, Mr. Blue Sky. That is the one place in which we can put talk about knees growing.
A feather star. It's really just a picture of a decrepit carcass pulled up from the bottom of the ocean. And I would argue that any picture of a carcass pulled up from the bottom of the ocean is horrible to look at, especially if what you're looking at is considered a new species. Like, what the fuck do you mean? Yuck. I know it's hypocritical of me to say, considering the things I've said about the blobfish in the past, but I at least acknowledge it. I'm growing. That's gross. Also, even though the strawberry feather star is technically
She's growing. I'm growing too.
a new species, it's
Get out of
not
here,
in
Uncle
the way
Paul.
that the clickbait websites are making it seem. You know, it's
Go
not
get some new impressions. Hack.
this monstrous creature that scientists just discovered in the bottom of the Antarctic Ocean for the first time. Antarctic feather stars have been known to science for a while. It's just that they didn't know the feather stars they were looking at were more than one species. They were all grouped together as the Antarctic feather star.
And that kind of looks like the Mothman too, doesn't it? You need a Mothman episode coming up. It is Halloween time after all.
And then it turns out the Antarctic feather star actually represented, like, I want to say like 8 species. So they named this particular one the Antarctic strawberry feather star because its body looks like a strawberry when you remove some of the cirri to expose it. Very cute, if you ask me. They're found at depths of up to 3,800 feet below the surface of the ocean. And they have 20 arms that can each grow to about 8 inches long. Just a little guy hanging out. That's all this is. The next animal in our lineup,
They've got 28 inches. Hey now.
is also found in the waters surrounding Antarctica. Lots of cool stars over there. And it belongs to the more basic or modest sea star group, Asteroidea. Yeah, the asteroids. You can call sea stars asteroids. That is not only correct, it is also extremely scientific. At first glance, you might think sea stars are just basic 5-arm background noise, as thrilling as an anchovy or a washed up
No, they're not just background noise. They're the funniest part of SpongeBob a lot of times.
shell on the beach. Immobile, non-sentient Hollywood fluff. Well, the one I'm about to show you is absolutely not. This is what has been nicknamed the Antarctic Death Star. It has so many arms, up to 50, which is more than any other asteroid species that we know of. They start with the classic 5.
So what is this association? What's its association with the Empire?
But then grow more and more as they get older. They can also get up to 2 feet long, which is very large for a sea star. I think they're in like the top 3 that we know of, but their size is not what gives them their name. This creature is a clear-cut predator, able to snatch fish and crustaceans right out of the water, and will eat practically anything it can get its arms around, even smaller individuals of its own species, which I know is like, ooh, cannibalism. But let's be
So if we see Rambo in a fight with a one of these sea stars, we will know. We don't even need Rambo to tell us.
They drew first blood, not me. They drew first blood.
She is definitely a zoologist. Holy shit. Yes, this is a real zoologist. I'm going back to the hack premise that's been on late night talk shows since its inception of zoology. Since I got a video taken down, let's do the good old fallback of zoologists.
let's be real. So many animals are
Actually, I did really want to get an e-girl on here from Twitch, but most of them put their repeat videos behind a paywall. So the weird world of e-girls where webcam girls and streamers intersect.
animals are cannibals in the right situation. You know, when shit goes south. Like, I get it when it's hamsters and prairie dogs that are suddenly eating their own species when they're not doing well. That's unpleasant. But predators, and especially animals in the deep ocean, of course they're cannibals sometimes. There's nothing down there. Of course they eat each other sometimes. So how does a sea star get around in order to actively hunt? Well, like other asteroids and some other echinoderms, like urchins and sand dollars, the Antarctic Death Star has these projections on the underside of their body called tube feet, which no, is not a foot fetish website. Tube feet are responsible for the locomotion of many echinoderms, and from our point of view, make them look like they're gliding across the ocean floor. Often the Death Star uses these tube feet to get them to an elevated point, maybe on a large cliff-like rock or a very large sponge, and extend some of their many arms up into the air, waiting for prey to swim by and get snatched. And then boom, snatched up so quick they don't even know what hit them. This is the ocean's equivalent.
She's given us a lot of weird facts. What do you think about it, Garth?
You're a freak with a microphone.
But I like freaks. I'm a freak myself. And yes, she got herself a microphone in this second video. Big ups.
To a bear trap. They use these claw-like structures called pedicellariae, which line the bottom of their arms to grasp onto their meal. And they drag their victim under their body and feast. Boom. That's that one. I don't have anything else to say. So, next. That is a brittle star, named such because they are, you guessed it, brittle. They belong to the class Ophiuroidea, along with their cousins, the basket stars, which live up to 6,000 feet below the surface of the ocean. They just look unkept, like a hairball you pull out of the shower drain. Like, no offense, they're cool for looking like that, but I've gotten a couple DMs of them recently, of people asking, like, What is this?
Hey,
I'm so
they slipped into her DMs. They heard what you did at zoology school. They want some too, Lindsay.
scared. What? You're scared of a funnel cake? Get real. Okay, back to the brittle stars, because I wasn't even planning on talking about the basket stars, but whatever. Okay, so as you can see, brittle stars have a pretty simple body plan. A small, disc-shaped body, and typically 5 long arms. Their name's brittle because their arms are very losable. It's easy for them to lose their arms. For being honest, they kind of look like they're held together by Scotch tape. And they might as well be. Brittle stars can lose any or all of their arms and fully regenerate as long as they have that central disc still intact.
They can regenerate. Fry, let's hear it again.
Fix it, fix it, fix it, fix it, fix it, fix it. Fix it, fix it, fix it.
Yes, they can fix it, fix it, fix it. I love that drop too much, probably. Wits wants to know what she knows about Godzilla or Gojira and what she thinks we should do about it. We will have to look through more of her videos and see if she gets into, because Godzilla, he lives in the Pacific Ocean, except when she lays eggs in the middle of Madison Square Garden. Oh God, what a piece of fucking shit that Godzilla movie from, what was it, 96, 99? Piece of fucking garbage. I think it was made by the same people who made Independence Day, and Independence Day, one of those movies where a really good first half and then just turn it off. It's a piece of shit after that.
Can even detach their arms to escape predators, which why wouldn't they? They can also asexually produce, kind of like cloning through a process called fission, using the central disc. Unlike their sea star relatives, they use those tube feet to get them walking around, locomotion. They use their arms, as one would expect arms to be used. They twist and coil them, dragging and pushing their bodies around, and they also use them for swimming. And fossil evidence suggests they've also been
Thumbs up on your sound effects. I like Lindsay's sound effects.
around since the early Ordovician period, like their crinoid relatives.
Look at that fox.
So as you would expect from an animal that has been evolving in their own unique ways for that.
I agree with Deitois. I bet she knows more about the Kraken than she does Godzilla. We will have to bring that up to her the next time she is our host.
Long, they have some pretty bizarre traits, one of which made me question everything when I found out about it a few months ago. One species of brittle star, named Ophiocoma wendii, has been determined to be able
Ophiocoma. God damn it, Chipper. You're making too many appearances lately. Get out of my head. Someone else get in my head.
to see without eyes, something called extraocular vision. And I don't mean just able to sense light, like most animals' eyes are not, can do that. I mean they're able to produce some sort of image using structures that are found all over their body that are not eyes. Let me break it down. I don't want to keep saying her species name, so let's just call him Wendy. Wendy is a brittle star that is found.
Everyone knows it's Wendy.
In the Caribbean Sea, in coral reefs. Lots of bright light, but there's a lot of stuff going on. It's very complex and crowded. So, bright spots, dark spots, all different types of shit. What was initially interesting about Wendy, and what made scientists perk their ears up about him over 30 years ago, is that they change color depending on the time of day. So during the day, they're this deep shade of red or like maroon, and at night, they're a shade of beige. So they're covered in these cells called chromatophores that allow them to change color, just like we've talked about with cephalopods and other animals.
Hey, nice little Simpsons reference there. I bet we'd be buddies. I only have one Simpsons drop here. So by default, let's celebrate default with Homer.
Default! Woohoo! The two sweetest words in the English language. Default.
Default. Default.
Animals like some amphibians, reptiles, fish, etc. Then more recently, they discovered that during the day, when they're that nice shade of maroon, they're able to get around really well, like as if they have eyes, as if they know what's going on. Like they can rapidly go to the nearest shelter, which is a pretty efficient behavior for an animal with no eyes. But then at night, when they're beige, they can't see shit. And also a close relative of Wendy, Ophiocoma pumila, let's call them Pamela, are very similar to Wendy in their build, but are beige all the time. And
can I call her Pamela instead of Pamela?
Don't scurry about in search of shelter. They kind of just bury themselves where they are to achieve dark. In other words, they can't see shit. They can only sense light versus no light. So it must be something about the maroon, the chromatophores. So in 2020, researchers decided to get to the bottom of this, conducting different visual experiments.
Oh, those perverts getting to the bottom.
On both Wendy and Pamela. Both species are covered in photoreceptors, cells that allow them to sense light, and they're covered all over their body. But they can't sense the direction that the light is coming from. It's just light versus no light, which is as far as the system goes for Pamela. Turns out for Wendy, when the chromatophores are deployed during the day, they narrow the field of vision of the photoreceptors.
Okay, you're getting in the weeds for me. I'm gonna need a kindergartner's version of this. Hit like, animal lovers. Thank you, Detroit. In fact, let's take the quick moment to do the shill segment. I know you're almost done here, Lindsay, but that's why I have not found a permanent host, because I am just very rude at times. Like, subscribe, hit that notification bell to know when we go live, which is usually 11:30 a.m. Eastern. The interview show, we are working around with our guests. As I said, Kinky Loco tomorrow, 3:30 p.m. Eastern. And tomorrow I will be on Annie's What Is This Game Show talking about Dead Space. Dead Space was really fun. YouTube at WITGS. Yes, WITG for or fuck. I'm a shitty co-host to Annie too. Usually I have her link up. You're gonna reject me because you, Lindsay, because you see what a shitty co-host I am to Annie.
I don't know if this is a good analogy, but I kind of imagine it like a hose. You know, you can like put your finger over a really big part of the hose and the water will go in one specific direction, in a more narrow direction. That's kind of how I imagine the chromatophores work for the photoreceptors. They kind of like squeeze them into only taking light from one direction. And then combined with the rest of the photoreceptor chromatophore combos all over their body, they create an image. What exactly that image looks like.
Combos. I already made the Fritos and Doritos joke today, didn't I? Yeah, I'm a fucking hack.
Who fucking knows? We can only begin to imagine, because that shit is unlike anything we are ever possibly familiar with. The researchers in this study think that this visual system produced by the chromatophore combination is an exaptation, which is a trait that takes on a function different from its original function. In other words, it originally evolved for one reason and just so happened to serve another function. Like feathers on birds originally evolved to keep them warm, but then eventually assisted in flight and mating displays. And in this case, maybe the chromatophores initially evolved to help them camouflage, predator avoidance, similar to octopuses and other animals with chromatophores, but just so happen to make an impact on the existing photoreceptor network by pushing into it. Regardless, it's discoveries like these that...
What a very educational episode. Let's get that nice little drop.
Pretty neat, huh? Okay, now cue the music and that star thing.
I could have transitioned to that better. Any final words, Lindsay? You are in your final segment.
That remind us that there is always more to learn. Humans are inherently biased, and we naturally interpret the world based on our own lived experience and perspective. Historically, we thought to look for structures that are similar to ours as evidence of shared traits, and we assume animals with those shared traits are more closely related to us. But clearly, nature is much more complex than that. To think that a statement as seemingly straightforward as "in order to see, an animal must have eyes" can be proven wrong is fucking crazy. Okay? It's nuts. I think depending on your perspective, this can kind of be a scary thought that there are animals with traits that we don't even know to look for yet. Like, what else do we not know about? But I think it's pretty cool. It means the study of biology and science as a whole will never be finished. Even the craziest ideas can be put to the test, and the world will always surprise us. If you like this video, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss my next long-form video on homos.
See, what a shitty co-host I am. I could have put the shill segment right here, where she set me up very beautifully for it, but I'm still working out the kinks after 6 months, 4 months, 5 months, something in that area of being a co-host to a very attractive and very informative host here with Lindsay Nikole.
Also known as the Hobbit People. You can keep up with my short form content on TikTok and Instagram. Check out my Patreon for live streams and our Discord server. And for now, stay curious.
Thank you, Lindsay. Very informative, much more informative than most episodes. So this was an animal episode. We have some animal TikToks before we get on out of here and before we celebrate Sexy Clown Day, which is every day for those who don't know. And first up, let's just see a silly little doggy getting out of the car. Just the regular animals to start, a doggy and a kitty. And he's gone forever. We will never hear from that dog again. He went into the leaves and it ate him whole like the blob and just made it part of himself. Nice knowing you, doggy. Hope to get a replacement doggy soon. This video I absolutely love. I don't know if any of my viewers have seen this. This cat appears to gain awareness.
Why are you doing this?
Why am I doing this? What is everything? She just fucked up that cat's life by simply asking, "What are you doing?" Man, just leave me alone. This is too heavy. I need to ponder life, man. Just don't even look at me. Fuck, what am I doing? I don't have a job? I can't get a job. I don't have thumbs. And a few wild animals before we get to Sprinkles the Clown. There is a bear who has been having a lot of fun in this lady's backyard. Not like the zoologists have fun with animals in their personal backyard, but the backyard of the house. I'm a little late getting to the chats. I'm not sure what one more time you're speaking of, Wits. I apologize. I do have Dayla now on the chats. Every once in a while, I will check in, but yeah, for the most parts, I've got Dayla running the chats. Thank you very much for taking this producer position. There is absolutely no money in it. I do find the dog jumping into the leaves very satisfying. So one more time on the dogs jumping into the leaves before we get to our one more wild animal. All right, I was correct. I figured that was one of those oddly satisfying things that you were talking about that rather than the cat. So on to the enemy of Australia, the emu. And this is actually reposted. Oh, I didn't give names for those previous videos. These are all reposts anyway. I feel like I don't need to give you too much credit. The cat was Bean Post. The dog in the leaves was a dog named Stella. So Stella's doing some funny stuff on dog named Stella. But as I said, back to the evil emus who took down the army of the Australians. And this lady, once again, this is a repost. Maddie Khan is not the original, and he doesn't give credit, I don't believe, Maddie Khan. So why am I giving you credit since you're not giving this original zoologist credit, her and her emu?
This is Emmanuel, do not do it. Emmanuel, don't do it. Emmanuel, don't do it. I'm trying to educate people right now, okay? Can you just stop? Can you inches tall? Emmanuel, every time, Emmanuel, don't do it.
Emmanuel is pure evil like all emus.
Emmanuel, don't do it. Emmanuel, don't do it. Emmanuel, don't choose violence today. Please, every day we go through this. Gosh. Okay, so a lot of you from yesterday's video asked about Ferdinand, and this is Ferdinand. Emmanuel, leave it alone. Emmanuel, don't do it. Emmanuel, think about it. Think about it. Make smart choices. Emmanuel.
We got to bring her on to the emu defense team. She has got some type of hold on Emmanuel. She is able to get Emmanuel to stop the violence. And as always, it's Rochi's favorite segment and mine. On to sexy clowns. We have Sprinkles the Clown. Oh, she changed her name back to Shaylia, something along those. We've got a few rapid-fire quick ones from Sprinkles the Clown.
Shh, don't bother me. I'm having enrichment time in my enclosure.
Be one with me, Emmanuel. Yes, she is doing very much. That emu instructor was being very much Jurassic World with that emu. But we have got a few more from Sprinkles the Clown, Shelia, with some rapid fire talks.
I like 5 Seconds of Summer too, bitch.
She likes more than clowns. She likes two things. Like me, I like two things. That sounds dirty, doesn't it?
I got you your favorite.
And good news, Rochi, we get to experience what it's like on the first date with Sprinkles the Clown in her garage. I'm excited. What is this first date going to be like? Oh, she is something of a cannibal, so this might turn out bad for us.
I got you your favorite. It's not? It's okay, I'll eat it. Oh, you sure you don't want some of this?
Sprinkles gets high on Sprinkles. Now we know. Oh, yes, well, Salty. Sprinkles the Clown has a streak of cannibalism in her, specifically with foreskins. If you are one of the men lucky enough to still have your pouch, our good buddy there, Sprinkles the Clown, wants to eat it. She has made that very clear that it will be gone in the middle of the night, and you will be missing it, but she will be full. Yes, Clown Queen. So that's all for our episode today. Thanks to Sprinkles the Clown. Thanks to the dogs for jumping into the leaves. And tomorrow, big thanks to Kinky Loco for joining us here on Chatting with Beloved Chatters, as well as Annie for keeping me around as mediocre of a host I can be. Sometimes I'm a good co-host. So I've got that going for me. I'm a C+ co-host. But don't tell the people who I'm still auditioning for. Let's pretend I am an A+ co-host, so they will invite me onto their show, and they will profit share with me in their ventures. I don't know how long it'll take me to profit over on this one, but really the money isn't with monetizing YouTube and TikTok and so on and so forth as much as it is with behind the paywall content. I wanted to launch a new show concept, reviewing movies. I'm going to have to experiment with what the new YouTube algorithm thinks and does not think that transformative content is. I'm going to put Nerds Without Dates on hiatus for a single week as I test that out. Maybe I could come. I really want to, just after being struck by YouTube and what I feel is a very unfair fashion. I do believe I'd just like a day off this week, one less day than usual. We do have TikTok around the clock coming on Thursday as well. We have a few oddities that we haven't quite seen this type of oddity. And oh yes, today is Discord Day. Voice chat over on Discord after the show today. There is the link right there. You can join us over on the Dillon from Somewhere voice chat. I will be there. I keep saying an hour or less, and it turns out to be much more. So we'll see if I stick to my hour or less or go an hour or more. I think that's all we have for this week. We'll be back with more co-host auditions next week. I'm going to be searching. Lou and Kai, I've gotten multiple suggestions of, since they are on the Oxycontin and Crack network. I'm not a big fan of the guy heading that network. I know some of you can't get enough, but oh boy, he reminds me of a pillhead relative. So I'm not too keen to revisit Crackhead Pillhead as often as you guys are. But yeah, Lou and Kai coming up soon. I'm going to find an e-girl. We're going to do an e-girl coming up soon. Wits for what? Did you just get a vid pulled, or was it? Yes. Yesterday's Corey Feldman episode is the lost episode of Co-Host Auditions. And I would like to attempt to get it back up because it's absolutely transformative content. But the bots who came in and identified the transformative content as having third-party, yes, it was third-party content. But it was 2 streams in a row. I got suspended. The Futurama stream on Nerds Without Dates and the Corey Feldman stream, but I didn't get a strike for the Futurama. That's why I believe these bots were updated with new orders on Friday night, because the Futurama stream on Nerds Without Dates, the same as the 2 previous weeks, no problem whatsoever. But the stream on Friday was suspended. Actually, that was a shit show at the end of the show. It got suspended for a few minutes. And well, Salt, yes, I did do Ari Jane co-host. She was a good sport. She got in contact with me afterwards, and she was a good sport about it. I believe she's putting out some new videos. So possibly we can have a second Ari Jane co-host audition. You can go back. It was a few months ago that I did an Ari Jane co-host audition around the same time as Ray DeVito, and I wish that Ari Jane and Elise would not go on Ray DeVito's show. I don't find them entertaining. I think Ari Jane could be endlessly entertaining on her own. So I will have to check out her new show that she's putting on with PS with Ari Jane. I think there's something there, but not with Ray. Anytime I've seen Ari with Ray, anytime I've seen Elise with Ray, it's like the Opie and Anthony. A lot of people would say that Opie and Anthony is like a conversation with your friends that you put on the air, and it was fun. But the conversation Ray has with his friends, it's not those fun conversations. It's the inane ones that I don't want to hear from. So, yeah, that's all for today. That's what's happened here. I have got 1 strike on my channel, and it was a warning strike. The next strike, if I get a next strike, I will be suspended for a week. And I have had my phone open up here. We did not get suspended one time today. So we're learning how these new YouTube bots are policing live streams. And that's why I want to put Nerds Without Dates on hiatus for 1 week as I figure out what these bots will and won't accept on a sock account. G-Rob, Ray stinks. Yeah, Ray is a likable enough guy, but Ray DeVito's podcast is not good. It's not good at all. You're a likable enough guy, Ray. You seem to need an adult with you. And I would like to revisit Ray DeVito, but he's got the Kevin Brennan style of putting his content behind a paywall as soon as it's done. Sucker Punch is not a fan of Ari Jane. I believe with the proper co-host that Ari Jane could be a good show. There's something there. With the wrong co-host, she can get her StreamYard stolen and only last 3 episodes. And boy, that fucking guy, he is just being a contrarian. Thank you, Annie, for dropping in. Yes, hit that like button. Join us over on the Discord. I think this is the final time I'm signing off. I've signed off, 2-3 times already, and then it started back up again. That's kind of my style. Sign off and ramble. Sign off and ramble. And this time, I am going to sign off for realsies. Thank you all for joining. Now feel free to go away.
Well, it looks like that's all the time we have for today. Thank you for going on this adventure with me. It's fun being with friends. I'll see you next time. Bye now.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye now. Bye-bye. Bye-bye now. Bye-bye.
Places all join hands, circle left. Now circle right and listen to me. LSMFT. Elementary corners like swinging on a gate. To right to your honey with the right and left date. Grand right and left around you go. Lucky strike means fine tobacco. Meet your honey and give her a whirl. All swing around with the little girls. Smoke 'em, then you'll see. LSMFT. Promenade and don't you fall. Promenade around the hall. Lucky strike is first again with tobacco men. Promenade straight down the pike. It's time right now for a lucky strike. Yes, for smoking that you're bound to like, you just can't beat a Lucky Strike.